The question I am asking you is whether the ontology of the word humanely, from either 1604 or 1632, can have an impact on today's time, specifically on the most advanced science of today. In other terms, is it possible for an image from the past to have an influence on our current physical condition in the present day? Does the story of the fall of bodies leave us with a choice in the path to take or in the path to not take?
The complete mechanism of the theater in which we live. The fundamental laws of nature, how many steps from the real and the true everyone is, in one new Galilean image.
They have the ability to revisit an image from the past, fully deconstruct it, and reconstruct a new world using a fresh quantified equivalence that is different from the original one. They are the only ones doing this. And what are we losing today? When we talk about an idea of a genius, there are only 5 of them. What are we losing in translation today? Irreversible, we lose it. All our fundamental laws are reversible. By translating today with our previous way of thinking mathematics, we systematically lose a dimension that is fundamental. Yes, I agree. But what exactly are we losing? I couldn't say.
A Galilean who has demonstrated that he knows what he is talking about, describes by new reproducible invariants 7 years later. Why the world losing, and who is responsible currently from this machine at lose, break, unto steal, unto be violated and betray nature by being rewarded for it by the Nobel Foundation. Reopen dialogues between the two different world, the 4 forces in one single point. You do not have idea how difficult it was for me to find you, lost in the folds of the void for 43 years, with the root particle which controls the totality of the clocks and the datas of your thoughts, all differentiable. E-words and images that destroy equations and deviant thoughts. The return of light after 25 centuries of massive mental retardation, or end of humanity. The average masters of natural mathematics, end of the debate beyond the border. The law above anti-Socratic human laws.
Watch Movio Channel Live and get the latest, breaking news headlines of the day for national news and world news today.
The Galileans are the guardians of the massively parallel calculation of nature after 1 alf, as well as the border of the degrees of freedom deprived of humanity and life on Earth. Thierry Origas.
Nature validates the invariance of a Frenchman who proves that in our reality, Einstein is right and that Fermat is wrong. Everything that the digital techno world has produced and enabled to obtain since 1982 is called into question. Its theory explains the growing chaos everywhere and on all subjects, which involves the survival of humanity.
Life is disappearing on Earth because mankind is no longer diving as nature demands. Technicians canonically validate their 100% false truth format, legally forbidding anyone to think outside the aspect model and the uniqueness of the fall. You have 15 days left to grasp the origin of your deviance and validate for the first time in 25 centuries your mental retardation of a Galilean image that shows that in our finite, edgeless frame of reference. Democritus was the first to touch absolute language. Einstein is right and Fermat is wrong. A new equivalence relation generalizes non-commutativity and its Pythagorean solution in a hidden exchange interval linked to an occulted drop inaccessible in weak fields, touching the absolute once more without the need to make any equation or wait a second longer. You bend or become enemies of nature. Nature validates my Galoisian theory from every angle, which is no longer ambiguous for me alone.
The image of falling bodies on the boat created in 1632 accounts for all the possible non-commutative mathematics of images of the universe. If this image changes or is enriched, then only those who respect its properties are modern science respectful of nature. It has nothing to do with the images in your brain. It can neither be added to, nor known at a distance, nor exploited by non-geniuses validated by nature. IA are merchants of death.
After so many years of violations of the fundamental laws of nature, you have 15 days left to put the Galileans back on the summit point violated by aspect. In exchange for my visibility, I validate your singularity to always be connected to modern science. Without my sesame with the Nobel Foundation, you will officially bring the world into dictatorship, by rewarding the zealous users of your tools, of your model with 2 identical keys, privatized chance, and the unique vertical logic of digitized states of rights. Being unable to accelerate to catch up with my image and my new invariance as I did with Einstein, forbids you to claim to administer reality to n bodies. If we humanely make the first official quantified exchange, you'll give history incredible coherence and keep in touch with modern science. On the other hand, understanding at last the upper framework of the theater in which we live, feeding you as before on my work, by erasing me, by giving you properties you never had, will bring the world into dictatorship. As soon as the new Nobel nominations are made, the latest generation of quantum tools will apply in real time the deviant thinking of aspect Canis and Rovelli to legally authorize themselves to couple remotely to all fields everywhere and on all subjects, and to refuse to bend to the laws of nature. The basic problem isn't math or data, it's your dashboard and your mind that zealously kills 3 of the 4 forces that is 100% out of frame and incompatible with nature. My modern science solution gives humanity a chance to survive, justifying the definitive abandonment of your oven cloning model, and your incorrigible habit of erasing or sorting what does not suit you. The Nobel Foundation that rewards this model has 15 days to redeem its soul that betrays its creator. The argument who forced science to never again pretend to say, I know beyond the border. My cross of higher mathematics of reality, freedom, and truth. My improved Einstein cross allows us to see the fundamental laws in motion as at the heart of the universe, to explain all the current unknowns. It also allows me to carry out an implacable consistency check on science and on all other subjects. What does not have at least these non-commutative dual properties has no authority to speak and see beyond the border. He can only administer his reality by 1/2, whatever these legal titles. Each order giver who has overridden with authority a reality different from his own or has switched, simplified the problem by authorizing himself to violate prohibited fields, thus has severe accountability to be rendered retroactively. He betrayed. Here is the history of the 2 models with their differences, then appears my model with 2 differentiable bodies, which thanks to origami shows that they can transform into a different strictly equivalent state into 4 indistinguishable bodies, coupled with 4 incompatible vacuum geometries whose logic is locked by nature to all dimensions. The dip reveals an interval of quantified exchanges which validates the real without tearing anything by creating additional hidden energy. My 4-body Einstein cross reveals that this Nobel Prize-winning model kills 3 of the 4 forces. It kills all difference, the only transformation authorized, thus the interval. Einstein is right, alone against all. Who, what science, what new invariant authorized you to violate the fundamental laws of nature and modern science, then to validate and cover this lie, in an organized group with 2 identical keys? All markets have thus been standardized, frozen, and locked in law guaranteed by you. At the first global crash and for the first time in history, everything will fall for the same reason. The world will be incapable of defending itself or even understanding why everything adds up in reverse. Without my civil and military logistical expertise in the survival interval, no one will go anywhere other than chaos and war, which your poorly thought-out mathematics automates by having killed the radical gap necessary for the mechanisms of life. In a frame of reference, finished without edges on Earth. All accelerations or transformations are subject to my meta-cross, including the right on Earth. Here are some examples that help understand the origin of chaos. Unlike you, I was at the border on the last wall of shame in the history of humanity. I drew from it this theory which is both open and closed to the mentally retarded, whoever they may be. We have one unemployed person different from the president and their rights to want to accelerate, exchange in a fair transformation. He thinks he technically has all the rights and knowledge with him, that no one can oppose him. Does he have the right to impose by a contract which reduces the inalienable rights of each body? To kill 3 of the 4 other realities as well as any interval of democratic exchange? Although 100% outside of current formalism, these new fundamental laws of nature impose themselves on him. They are above any jurisdiction or function which bends as the Academy of Sciences must do. It has no right to go against an experience validated by nature consistent with uses before 1982 which imposes another fall in differentiation everywhere, precisely thanks to the value prohibited by aspect which is the first fake Nobel Prize. It is now enough to carry my argument through a scientific politician like Cedric Villani by verifying and making the paradigm shift public for history. In the event of ignorance of modern science, science and the president will never again be able to claim knowledge of the mathematical language of nature. He will have to prove that he understands first by actions to follow the new higher law of nature as a guide escaping law. Neither he nor anyone else in the world has any right of inspection or ownership over these mechanisms. Humanity is no longer coupled to the laws of nature, technology has shielded them. This example applies to an infinity of contracts with 2 identical keys imposed by a single leonine market dealing in death, which mechanically generalizes the violation of the law and betrays the earth. Like Socrates who introduces a world with its new rules. Turn against him, erase him, interpret his ideas without thanking him. Would mean that the world has learned absolutely nothing in 25 centuries about what nature imposes on us as the only rules to be able to survive and not create an oven of ignorance. The complete mechanism of the theater in which we live. The fundamental laws of nature. How many steps from the real and the true everyone is, in one new Galilean image? Which image corresponds to a square circle after transformations? By taking the 2 roots which pass together at the same time, it is enough to stick the local central common point orthogonally to maintain the fact that the 2 worlds are 100% differentiable. To join the 2 ends by reversing the direction of the fold for the same reasons to obtain 2 strictly opposite Mobius circles. If the exchange took place in the n-dimensional isometric embedding, then the Einstein value measured in 1982 will take on its full meaning. You have to mentally translate the raw image into a perfect mix between 2 worlds which remain 100% different and first. I present to you my cross with these 2 lighthouses which allow you to know exactly where you are. Since the 2 worlds carry out a coherence check in real time at 1/2, knowing that everything is first, each knows halfway that its structure and the other are 100% coherent because they dive in the opposite direction of their logic. They therefore come together more quickly, the square remaining square and the circle a perfect circle, having exchanged an infinite amount of data. The image is a solution to set theory and the absolute framework that surrounds us. In human life the interval explains the optimum mechanism which leads to pure magic in all the languages of humanity. This is well worth a meta-Nobel between Galileans who lectured you for 10 minutes. By being non-commutative, by putting yourself at a distance, I create the exchanged interval. So don't try to break it or attack me. It is 8 billion people who are responsible for the situation of the current world and for your mental retardation of one image of Galilean explained in images and in mathematical words. If everyone holds their place we can still get there, the first to block, kill the world. After having thought that we had turned the page on the old rules of local science before 1982, is there still an academic authority capable without equations, of recognizing modern science as soon as a genius reproduces in the rules of modern science? The Galilean gesture in a period of big data, artificial intelligence, states of law and excessive libertarians all move to digital reality which does not resist a change of point of view local non-local. Before legally we prohibit any speech any deviation contrary to the only vertical dictatorship authorized. Let him demonstrate being able to make a fixed appointment and know how to say where and how all things fall in advance, while everything moves randomly, falls in a rectilinear or curvilinear manner in the universe. That it has an Einstein cross with 4 prime bodies and their lambdas, which unifies the 4 forces and allows a retroactive consistency check of any language concept or thought claiming to administer nature, through 100% false technical truths outside laboratories creating a simplistic oven that kills life. The aspect model that kills 3 forces is good for humanity and nature you guarantee. Do you still maintain this? Has science really integrated non locality, 2 multiplied by square root of 2? The discrete which commutes without bias with the continuous in nature? Approximating the trading interval duplicates the gap that is killing everywhere today. Passive observation from a distance increases your mental retardation by 1 more image. You are not entitled to doubt anything or to question the way in which quantified exchanges have been happening for at least 14 billion years. These images validated by nature prove with infinite precision without any ambiguity, without having to appeal to the law that everything is locked. It's up to you to be humanly at the same level of requirements by bending your thoughts to seal the return of light to Earth. This is only possible at this single 1/2 point with a real Galilean who by cancelling your mental retardation on these images remains at a distance irreducible to 1, for all other locked questions. You must now clarify your position to Alfred Nobel and humanity. By withdrawing your guarantee from the market to states of rights, I am authorized to validate this paradigm shift, in the name of nature. By refusing to apply the superior laws to you, you will have demonstrated that you are, on a human level, the worst dogs in history. To preserve the interval, I demand like Galilean that the long time strictly preserves this term at the height of the subject which spaghettifies the miserable eavesdroppers. As Alan Aspect Nobel Prize 2022 in Physics did it with Einstein, never again. Without new invariants, no one on Earth is entitled to believe that he understands, comments on, or uses seriously a result of Galilean. It's taking yourself for what you're not and an eavesdropper's theft of my thought, protected over this border by the higher law of nature. At one single viewing angle disconnected from everything the rest, you can say what you want like as in the past. The peace coming we all return in their rightful place, all presidents and the Nobel Foundation included. Humanly knowing your 100% false non-commutativity, your liability engaged and your honor seriously tarnished, Mr. Alan Connis. A master of higher mathematics of nature officially asks you remotely the same question as on October 18, 2018 at the Collège de France with infinitely more power in my simple words. Now I transmit to you with the mental image which allows you to grasp the mechanisms of the Deus ex machina, therefore to steal my ideas from a distance. I listen to your response which must be consistent with your new mania for wanting to resuscitate growth in Deke and Lacan. Not everyone has the pleasure of speaking Chinese in their own language, said Lacan. I would say, not everyone has the pleasure of speaking fluently Chinese in mathematics with the greatest specialist today. I listen to your human response. History watches you from a distance. The mathematics of nature is not a theoretician's game, Mr. Connis. Yours is the merchant of death everywhere on earth and leads to the end for humanity, by having cut off all parasitic movements for your intellectual comfort. By copying the concept of two bodies, science and mathematics force the passage, giving them the illusion of having the right to couple with the infinitely small and to exploit nature with their rules of sharing with two identical keys. By confirming its model with the new 2023 nominations, the Nobel Foundation betrays its creator. By rewarding the merchants of death, those who destroy and exploit hidden superpositions of states, it betrays humanity and life on Earth. This video cut with new invariants 2,500 years of questions about the real and the true. It shows everyone the scope of the crime committed and the established fact that Einstein is right alone against everyone.